In today's forecast, heavy rain is set to drive its way across the southern country, bringing several inches of rainfall, which can lead to some flooding down south. A big storm system is brewing, potentially driving a lot of nasty conditions for later on next week. And lastly, there's a possibility of a tropical system working its way throughout the Caribbean that could have some impacts down in time. Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back here to another weather forecast. My name is Andrew Heishman. I'm your lead forecaster here in WW116. I hope you guys are having an amazing weekend out there. Glad to have you guys here. So, before we get on and Before we go ahead and get on into the forecast, my friends, I want to go ahead and ask if you guys could share this video, help spread awareness here regarding the weather, because like I said, we could have some very impactful weather patterns coming up here very soon. But without further ado, my friends, let's go ahead and jump right on into it. Alrighty, you guys, first up, taking a look here at the overall precipitation we are expecting down south, because like I said, we are expecting a good amount of rainfall. Several inches is in the forecast, as we are going to be looking here in a moment. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk the timing, my friends. Time is in the top right if you guys want to follow along. So basically throughout today, obviously today's the 12th, we work our way into the evening. We're going to be getting a lot of rain across portions of South Texas. It's going to be very persistent over the next several hours. I mean, look at this. Even into tomorrow afternoon, still raining across a lot of Texas. But then it starts working its way in there towards like Louisiana. It'll probably start raining right around there for the morning of tomorrow, kind of morning, afternoon hours. It'll start to roll into Louisiana. We actually have ourselves a pretty well-defined low-pressure system that's forecasted to spawn here, but I will let you guys know this is not going to be a tropical system overall, so this is mostly just a bunch of rain rolling through. Now, some of the models, as we're going to be seeing here in the future, actually has the system rolling across the Gulf Coast and maybe even redeveloping into some subtropical system out there along the eastern USA. Alright, so guys, we're taking a look at the overall expected accumulation here from the National Weather Service forecast overall, and my goodness, we are expecting a lot of rain. Look at this. Out there towards central southern Louisiana, throughout portions of southern Mississippi, southwestern Alabama, out there towards Mobile, we are seeing the possibility between 2 and 3 inches of rainfall over the next 72 hours or the next 3 days. So we are talking a pretty good amount of accumulation out there. Now, also portions here towards Florida, especially out there towards the east coast and the southern side of the state, could get a little bit of rainfall, but really no more than, 3/4 of an inch at max could be expected for most of those regions. Now, whenever it comes to the overall expected accumulation out there towards Texas, we are seeing a lot of it, especially out there by areas here near the coast. So, for example, you can actually see how we have this margin in here. This is basically your 2+ inch range right there for the eastern coast. So areas out there towards Houston should watch out for a good amount of rainfall overall. And so basically that region where we can expect maybe a 1/2 inch and more is basically south of the black line here. So basically areas like, Dallas is not going to expect more than a 1/2 inch overall. Maybe just a little bit of a trace could be possible out there. But most of all, the rain is going to be mostly to the south here overall. Now, whenever it comes to the region in general, for like the 1+ inch range, it really does cover a lot of the southern side as well as the eastern side of Texas. So if you guys live out there, look out there for the potential of flooding, as this amount of rainfall in a short period of time, especially being dry for a while, this could cause some flooding conditions. Alright, so guys, since we were on the topic here of overall accumulation, I figured we'll take a look at the overall expected snowfall amounts through the next 48 hours or the next 2 days. So, we actually do have ourselves a little itty-bitty system that's going to be working its way across portions here of the Northeast, maybe delivering a little bit of a trace to a dusting across portions here of northern New York State. Possibly some areas could be maybe 1 to 2 inches across some of those areas out there towards northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire. So a little bit of accumulation could be possible out in some of those localized areas. But overall, not a lot of snowfall. But I just figured I'd mention it because over the next 48 hours, a little bit of accumulation out there seems possible. Now, that is going to be completely different out there towards the upper Northwest, as areas out there towards central Oregon and Washington State could be seeing some areas up to a couple foot up there towards those upper mountaintops, as we are seeing a bunch of moisture rolling its way in here to the west. So overall, if you live out in those mountaintops, it could get a little snowy up there. Alrighty, guys, so let's go ahead and talk about this next big system that's going to be driving a lot of crazy conditions across the country. Starting off here with the American GFS model overall, we are seeing ourselves this big trough that is getting ready to form across portions here of the eastern Pacific. Now, this is going to be a part of the next big storm system overall, or really a key between maybe 2 storm systems that could happen for next week, which could be very impactful overall. But anyways, we work our way down here in time out there towards the 16th. We get ourselves a little bit of a dip in the jet stream, you guys can see how we have that big dip right here across portions here of the northern country. So what's happening in this place here is the jet stream is bringing down a lot of cold air up here from the north, diving it down into the country. It is going to get very, very cold. For the current time being, though, for right now and over the next couple of days, across the central country, it's actually going to be relatively warm. But then that is going to, not going to stick around for too long because it's going to be changing to turn into pretty cold conditions overall. But yeah, we have this big dip in the jet stream. It works its way across the Ohio Valley, across portions here of the northeast, while that secondary trough we have that was basically detached, that we call a shortwave trough, basically works its way into country and could be a second storm system here for the 20th, which obviously is still a little ways away, but the models have been hinting toward this for the last couple of days, so we possibly have 2 storms, not just one, on our hands that could be bringing down a lot of cold conditions, stormy conditions, possible thunderstorms, and maybe even some winter weather could be expected for next week. So you definitely want to brace if you live out there towards the central and eastern country. All right, so now we're taking a look here at the American GFS. I messed that up, guys. That last model we looked at was the ECMWF, or the European model. However, whenever it comes to the similarities between the models, we got that big trough popping off here for basically the 14th. We work our way further down in time here, and we get that trough that really starts kicking off the main event, the first event here. We're going to really start to see that here for basically the 16th into the 17th as it works its way through the northern plains into the Ohio Valley out there towards the northeast. And then that secondary system that possibly could occur for the 20th is also persistent on the American GFS. Now, there is going to be some serious temperature fluctuations across the country that you guys have seriously got to look out there for. So this system here is going to be really influencing that overall. So across the red here, guys, this is basically showing us where the temperatures for this time of the year are above normal, meaning hotter than usual. And then across the blue is the opposite phase, showing it's typically colder than normal for this time of the year. Now, we mentioned here that at least over the next couple of days, I'd say anywhere from 2 to 4 days here, we're going to be seeing ourselves relatively above average temperatures across the central eastern country, as we have that ridging, basically an area of high pressure in place across the central country, allowing for more sunny conditions and more overall warm conditions in general, typically making it warmer than usual. But that is not going to last for long, my friends, as we are going to be seeing this big system roll through here for the 17th, really starting to influence those temperatures, bringing them back to near normal overall, some areas below normal. But then it really gets a hold of the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and eventually even the southeast here with the below average temperatures as we work our way here into the 18th overall. Through the 19th, really cold, typically a lot cooler across the northeast from this system overall, and then once the system rolls out, it should be back to relatively warm conditions overall. Alright guys, so we have ourselves an increased probability regarding tropical weather activity here from the National Hurricane Center, clocking in a 50% chance probability now of overall tropical development. Now, if you look out there towards the middle of the paragraph, it does say that a tropical depression could form late this week while the system works its way to the northeast across the western and central portions of the Caribbean Sea. So now we have a 50% chance of a tropical depression forming in the next week. And now, whenever it comes to the next 48 hours or the next 2 days overall, we are seeing ourselves a low 0% chance. So we're not expecting this thing to be a tropical system for, the next 2 days. So this will be something that's going to happen later on this week overall, so definitely want to look out for it. Alright, so moving on over here to the models, my friends, starting off with the American GFS regarding this tropical system. So we work our way down here in time, and we start to get the act together with that central low developing right here, right around the morning of the 17th. As the system works its way generally northeastward, as the Hurricane Center did mention here, getting pretty close out there towards Jamaica, maybe there towards Dominican Republic. Now, this is still in the early works regarding where the system's going to go, so just keep that in mind overall. But yeah, the GFS model has this thing turning into a potential tropical storm as it approaches out there towards eastern Cuba, and then it works its way here out to sea overall. Now, whenever comparing this here with the American GFS model, we actually have ourselves the central low really start to develop here according to this model for pretty much the afternoon of the 17th. Now, there is a bit of differences between these two models. This system overall with the European model tracks its way up here to the northeast, similar to what GFS had to say, although a little bit more to the south, a little bit more further away from Jamaica, potentially as a tropical depression, and then it completely turns around with a 180 degree, and it starts working its way back here to the west, which obviously there's a lot of differential between the American GFS and the ECMWF overall. Next up, we have ourselves the CMC model. Now, this model in particular kind of takes a similar approach between both the GFS and the ECMWF overall. So we work our way down here in time. We get that organization really starting to kick off here between the 17th and the 18th. Kind of travels right next to Jamaica overall, kind of what the GFS was showing. But then it starts to pull an ECMWF, goes east, and then does a 180, going back there towards, more of the deeper Caribbean overall. So there's a little bit of similar traits between both the GFS and the ECMWF here overall, but according to this model, it should stay within the tropical depression standpoint. All right, then lastly, my friends, we have ourselves the Icon model. This is the last model we're going to look at here for regarding the tropics. So this model in particular has the system kind of getting its act together here for the 16th, maybe a little bit earlier compared to what these other models are saying. Goes near Jamaica, like the GFS was saying, possibly as a tropical depression or a tropical storm, and then continues to the northeast. So this model overall kind of agrees with what the GFS has to say. Alrighty, my friends, well, that's going to go ahead and wrap up the weather update. If you guys did enjoy it, please consider leaving a like and hitting that subscribe button, and leave comment down pancake if you guys were sticking towards the end. That way I know who my true supporters are. But alright, my friends, well, you guys take care. We love y'all. Please be safe out there, and we'll catch you guys in the live stream tonight around 8:30. Alright, guys, y'all take care. See you then.